Yeah. Hey, happy Wednesday. And today, very important day. My Florida Panthers hockey team is going to sweep the Carolina Hurricanes in the Eastern Conference Finals tonight. And I'm going to the game. So I'm excited. Anyways, so quick shout out to the Panthers.
Are you going to the game?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
We have season tickets, so we go to all the playoff games.
Nice.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Super excited. So anyways, wanted to throw that out there. Welcome to another episode of Go Find Yourself. It is 70. Is that an accurate number today?
Yeah, I have bad news for you. We missed 69.
God damn it. I've missed 69 my whole life. So, I mean, it's just passed me by. So
yeah, I counted yesterday. I counted all the days that we've technically done episodes. So I went on a calendar and I counted, and I believe it's 70. I'm running with the number 70 thus forward.
I'll take it. 70 is pretty good. I can't believe we've done 70 episodes.
I know. I'm telling you, at the beginning of July, we'll have done 100. So what are we going to do?
Kind of crazy. I don't know. Someone should buy us something nice. Remember I told you? You should buy me the Cuban link.
Oh, I should buy you that.
Yeah. I think it's the right thing to do. Anyways, what are we talking about today?
All right. Well, we got to talk about Coinbase and the SEC. Honestly, I'm kind of tired of the Coinbase SEC news myself, but there's new news about it, so we're going to do it. And then, as we spoke about yesterday from our confirmation bias, since we talked about Asia crypto, we're getting more news about Asia crypto. So we've got another thing from South Korea and Japan. It's pretty interesting, though. It's about anti-money laundering. It's about privacy and information. So that's pretty cool. And then we have quite a bit of Cosmos news. It's been building up over the week. So we're going to go for it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay. And
what are you wearing now? You just strip on camera?
Oh yeah, I took it off. Just repping the Moonwell. Good friends over at Moonwell. Maybe we'll have Lucas back on one of these days again.
Yeah.
He's been blowing up my DMs last little bit, so we'll.
Was he what?
I don't know. Nudes probably.
Okay.
Anyways, like, share, subscribe, do all that shit. Help us, share the love, and again, curb some FOMO and get rid of some FUD. Ideally, we'd like everybody to be less panicky in both directions. So that's what Go Find Yourself is all about. And with that, we go here.
We're a minute early for our Twitter space.
Doki. Yeah. Welcome back. 12:30 Eastern, same place, every day, every weekday, including US and Canadian holidays. We just, because you're in Canada, I'm in the US, we just trade. Yeah. So
on Monday, we have a different Tashi guest. So not right. Christine.
We have one of the other co-founders of Tashi.
It's exciting.
Yeah, she used to work she used to work with us at Rome Blockchain Labs. It's awesome.
I love Lindsay.
Yeah, me too. She's gonna have some really awesome stuff to say. All right, let's get our Twitter spaces up and going.
Mine's working. Is yours not working?
Yes, there it is, finally. Now we're talking. We're talking. All right. Okay, so we're going to kick it off by talking about our favorite topic, the SEC and Coinbase. Tee it up.
I'm tired of this topic. I have to say. Topic is blasé for me now because I feel like the news is always the same because it takes so long with bureaucracy to get anywhere. So I appreciate that people are reporting on it. I appreciate that we need to keep up on it, but also it's not new news. So Coinbase is still mad. The SEC still hasn't answered. Coinbase has filed a writ of mandamus. I don't know this one.
Mandamus.
Mandamus.
Mandamus. Mandamus.
Yeah. All right. With the U.S. Court of Appeals. Seems good. I'm going to look it up. Usually I throw words at you that you don't know. This is a first on our stream.
I mean, the bar's pretty low. I don't have a very broad vocabulary. So, I mean.
But yeah, I don't think this is new. We kind of knew that this was coming, but it's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was the inevitable kind of crossroads that this was going to come to. I mean, again, all the love in the world for Coinbase, fighting the good fight on behalf of the little guy, because as we've mentioned many, many times, there's only a handful of, organizations that service the space currently that have the firepower to actually litigate this without crushing their business entirely. And Coinbase is one of them. So it's great to see that they're, taking their industry leadership and respecting that and doing something about it. So I'm super grateful for this. This has kind of been the narrative for the last year, maybe even a little bit more, kind of since Terra Luna started dying, I suppose, just a little over a year. It's kind of been the same narrative. Like the SEC has been like super opaque about what they think the rules are. They're not responding meaningfully with opinions on things. And it's causing a lot of problems for most companies are not servicing US persons at all. And it's not even that they don't want to service US persons. It's just there's not a path that's obvious at the moment that won't completely disadvantage you relative to everybody else by trying to service US persons. And so seeing Coinbase, say, listen, like if you guys want to enforce this stuff, then tell us what the rules are. Like, be clear and be specific on what the rules are. So anyways, hopefully this continues.
I hope it continues. It's just kind of boring news. Like we've heard it. And then the other thing that we keep hearing about, which is hand in hand, but not identical, is the Hinman files from Ripple.
Yeah.
So this is still the SEC that's been back and forth about these files, if they're going to be opened or closed for the court case. They officially are going to be open. And in these files, it's stated very clearly that essentially Ripple, XRP, et cetera, are not securities and that the SEC doesn't have jurisdiction over them. And so this is a pretty big deal. It could be precedent setting or not. Like we don't know until it ends, right? It's a lot of fancy lawyering. And I say that with love and kindness, but it's kind of like a niggly thing that could be considered out of date or not an actual precedent because it wasn't actually acted upon, right? So I don't know. The SEC moves slowly, so we keep getting the same news.
Hey, BCP's listening. Sup, brother? Good friend of ours from Probably Nothing.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Anyways, just a quick shout out. Go check out Probably Nothing if you're not familiar. Really cool. If you're into the art, culture, NFT space, check them out. Shout out. Okay, so think about this Hinman thing. Like, there's arguments on both sides that probably make sense. And so it'll be interesting to see how this shakes out, right? So if I was Ripple, I'd be saying, hey, the former chair of the SEC said this. And so said it publicly so that we were all under the impression that was usually when the chair of a committee says something publicly, they're an agent of said committee and you should believe that they represent the beliefs of the institution, right? That's super common in corporate law, right? That if you're an agent of a business, it's as if you represented the business and people take what you say. They apply a greater weighting to what you say because you're an agent of the business. Anyways, so I see Ripple's argument. I agree personally with Ripple's argument in this particular case. They said this shit. And in the absence of any other clear statements, rules, outlines, guidance, what are you supposed to believe?
I want to be clear. I don't disagree with Ripple here. I just don't know if it's actually going to win them the case. A lot of the news is way hypey. It's like Ripple has officially won. And it's like, well, no, they got some documents that are going to be allowed to be spoken about. They haven't necessarily won the case, even though this could set them up to win the case. It also might not. We don't know what else the opposition has, right?
Yeah, I mean, this clearly isn't a silver bullet. Otherwise, the SEC would have dropped the case by now instead of wasting more money if they figured it was a silver bullet. Again, just to give, in fairness to the other side, just 1 second. In fairness to the other side, because I think it's important to be fair to the SEC occasionally, their argument is going to be, I mean, yeah, that was their opinion. We have a new committee, and This is our opinion based on the rules. So
Exactly. It's a little bit too telephone, right? It's like, okay, well, someone who's not in the room anymore told you something and you listen to them instead of to us.
I'm going to lean strongly on my belief of the first argument, but we'll have to see what happens here.
So
anyways,
it's not old news, but it's not news you don't know about already. I'm just asking that people have a little bit of a critical thinking lens when they see any of these SEC things, because it is going to get boring, but it is still important. And also people are super funny or super hypey about it, so that you'll click on it. That doesn't mean that they've won or lost yet.
Yeah, very important nuance there.
Okay, the next section that we're talking about is crypto arms race Asia. I'm laughing because yesterday we were talking about news and the confirmation bias of the news that we read and then the news that we receive. And so I was saying that since JD's in America, JD is getting a lot of American news and he's always going to be bullish on American news. Since I live in Canada, I get Canadian news, but we don't live in anywhere else, right? So we're kind of like stuck in our own little news worlds. And the more you look into other countries, the more that will show up on your feed. So I now have a bit of a self-confirmation bias in seeing more news about South Korea and Japan. And I want to acknowledge that. But there was news about South Korea and about Japan and about other portions of Asia yesterday that we covered. And then this popped up on my feed later. So I figured we should still cover it, even though Asia was technically.
It's probably social media just listening to you talk about this. And
no, I think it's a more general, like, if their article about South Korea got enough clicks, then they're going to continue reporting on something else in South Korea, right? Or, maybe all the stuff that I put into Bard and ChatGPT is going to come back. I don't know. All my questions about South Korea. So
I find it, we probably don't need to spend time on this, but it was pretty freaking funny that you broke Bard today. Like, that's ridiculous.
I wasn't even doing anything weird.
And it just quit. Like, Bard quit you. Was like, no, I'm done.
Yeah, I got over 7 messages before I refreshed, and then it still wouldn't serve me. It said that it's not creative enough to serve me.
I mean, like, you're an AI. You work for me, bro. Anyways.
It also told me that it can't form personal relationships with me. And I want to be clear, I asked it to summarize a news article. I didn't ask it for anything else weird.
Are you trying to marry Bard? Come on.
Yeah, we're gonna go to Vegas. I see someone from Tashi joined us, which is really exciting. So thank you.
Yeah, they probably heard us say shout out to Tashi.
I don't know if it's Christina or Tom, but now we gotta come. Okay, so South Korea.
Okay.
Basically, the party of South Korea is looking to ensure safety. This is what we're going to talk about with Japan as well. So whenever we talk about anti-money laundering, whenever we talk about crypto terrorism, whenever we talk about anything like that, the sticking point is the potential anonymity. And so South Korea is saying, hey, we're really happy to support crypto. We're happy to support crypto exchanges. We're looking at licensing. I believe yesterday we talked about Cardano launching in South Korea. We're looking at retail licensing.
That was Hong Kong.
Was it? I thought it was weird because it was South Korea.
No, I'm pretty sure it was Hong Kong. But anyways, go ahead.
But South Korea is happy. They're offering good places for crypto to be, but they're saying, hey, you're gonna have to have a government approved license, and people's information is not going to be, you can't hoard it. We're going to ask for it as the government. And so this becomes power and control, right? This becomes the CBDC argument. It's interesting.
I didn't notice that. So you have to share the information in the absence of subpoenas and.
Essentially, yeah. So the idea isn't that they're going to be asking for that information all the time, but that there will be kind of an assumption around the normal information gathering because they want to be able to act fast enough around crypto. So they're trying to frame it as, we will protect you. So we need cooperation from whoever we're going to license to be in South Korea. But if you think about it a little bit too deeply with your tin hat on, that very quickly becomes a record of people who are using crypto.
I wear the tin hat so much that I have no hair anymore. So that's what caused this, is the friction. But
so the idea here is that they want it to reflect how stocks and bonds work plus.
Yeah. So I've been saying this for what's going on years now. But in my opinion, there is no world where any meaningful jurisdiction does not require, at the very least, KYC AML. So at the very least, forget whether it's a security or commodity or whatever it's classified as, something, a new category, doesn't matter. They're all going to require KYC AML, in my opinion. So we should all just get used to that because that's what's going to happen, no matter what. And so this, I think, is good. I think it's good in a sense that, another jurisdiction is saying, hey, we at least are willing to draw a line here. It's not perfect, but here's where we're going to start. Now, where I would hope that people that live in South Korea or all the other countries, anybody that's listening and watching, look at this through a relatively critical lens. You don't have to wear a tin hat, but just say, hey, like,
we'll make you one though if you want one.
Yeah, we'll make you one. It'll look like the Stanley Cup and it'll have the Panthers on it. Just saying. But honestly, I think, looking at this stuff with a critical lens and just saying, hey, okay, this is all great and we're fine with like AML, KYC and so on, because I don't think we're going to have a choice. But maybe this is a little bit of an overreach. Like, you can't do this with our bank accounts. So
like, the other implication here is taxes. They're saying that they want to be able to tax it like stocks and bonds.
Yeah. So but again, that, like, you have to report your taxable, the institutions that are licensed have to report taxable gains via tax forms. And then those get submitted to the government. But the government doesn't see every transaction, right? That's not up to them to have that kind of access. And so, again, my only suggestion here is, if you're in any of these jurisdictions that are starting to move this way, great, because I think they're going to be welcoming to new businesses and they're going to be a greater level of protection for consumers, which, in my opinion, is one of the biggest barriers to greater adoption. All the people that are willing to throw caution to the wind and are into, innovative, new, novel technologies are already here. Mm-hmm. If we want to scale larger than the space currently is, we need to appeal to the rest and the majority of society that is like, I don't know. I don't love this whole, like, my counterparty is some offshore company run by a bunch of anonymous people and they want me to put my money in it.
So that's how Japan feels also. Great segue for me. Thank you. So essentially, Japan is trying to do a couple of different things. One, they want to see higher adoption.
Fire with these banners today.
You like them? Yeah.
Yeah, they're good today.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I didn't get AI to write them because it refused. So these are from me.
Fancy. Holy shit.
Yeah, okay, I know. Maybe I should do my job more often and do it myself instead of getting Bard to do it. But so Japan basically is trying to do a couple of different things. Japan is trying to help crypto adoption in Japan. They don't want to get left behind. They see there being potential other threads in Asia for kind of taking steps forward for that. So their Liberal Party, who's currently in power, actually has released a white paper proposing ways to expand Japan's crypto industry and how to bring in other countries and that kind of thing. So they're looking to compete as that crypto hub, just like Hong Kong and Dubai and, I don't know, Delaware and Berlin and Paris, and everyone wants it. Everyone wants to be the hub. Japan is included in that. And their government is taking action towards that. However, they also don't want to get in trouble and they want to adhere to G7. So they have some new anti-money laundering enforcement that they're trying to put in place, which will adhere them to the travel rule. We talked about the travel rule, 2 weeks ago now, which is where you essentially can't trade more than 3,000 American dollars worth of crypto via a financial institution at any time. Is that right?
No, you can, but then it has to be, there's a report that has to go.
That's right. There's a
report. Which is, I mean, it's 10,000 for fiat. Why on earth is it 3,000 for
ridiculous
for crypto, whatever. But I mean, if regulators were listening to me, I think that the easiest and most impactful first step is actually just to require KYC AML. Because the vast majority of nonsense that happens would be abated by that. If protocols just simply have to collect KYC AML data and hopefully have a third-party vendor that stores it so that we don't have 10 million little protocols having data breaches, then in my opinion, it would be a huge first step, because people can get on board with that. Let's not overreach. If they have any issues, now they know this data is collected and they can subpoena it, which is how it works in every other financial industry, essentially. Now, they can layer on, some taxation, tax form remittance and all this other shit, withholding maybe. In some countries, there's withholding if you want to withdraw and there's a certain amount of tax owing. They withhold some of that and pay it to the government on your behalf. Anyways,
withholding.
I'm withholding what?
Nothing. It's a joke.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm laying it all out here. But anyways, I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. I think, again, for me, I think that would be like a huge step, just requiring that. Like, forget whether it's a security or not, like we can figure that out after, but a massive leap in consumer protection. And I think just bringing legitimacy to the industry would be simply KYC AML. So regulators, all the ones that watch the show, I'm sure everybody does, please listen to me.
I just want to say before we move on from anti-money laundering that whenever I read a Cointelegraph article about anti-money laundering, they use the same image, which is this like cartoon image of a Bitcoin token doing laundry at a laundromat. I want to know who made that.
That's hilarious.
I don't know why that's what stands out to me, but it's in every, like they reuse their images, right? Which makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
In every anti-money laundering.
I like the one where they've got,
and he's like folding laundry.
I like the one where they've got the Bitcoin token and he's got like the villain thing around his eyes. And then he's like running with a briefcase. He was like, what the fuck? Like, okay. Anyways, okay. So
we're
now
talking about Cosmos for the last few minutes here. Right. Cosmos has been in the news a lot. I don't find that any of the articles are big enough to kind of talk about one-on-one, but we have a little bit of a Cosmos roundup. And the biggest thing that we can take away from this, I'll just start here, is that people are starting to get really bullish on Atom. So they're seeing kind of like a little mini bull run. People think that Atom might be coming out of the bear market sooner than some other tokens. Cosmos is a huge ecosystem with all kinds of different hubs, and it services many, many different people, and it has serious projects and it has meme projects, and it's all over the place. So Cosmos seeing success is not so far away. And I found a couple op-eds on it saying that maybe they're going to really take off. Maybe we're to the moon with Cosmos, with Atom. I don't know. Do you have any general comments on the Cosmos ecosystem or anything people should know about it before we get into the news?
So my thought on this in general and Atom is Atom tokenomics were absolutely garbage up until like 15 minutes ago when they came out with like V2 of their tokenomics, which I still am not super positive on long term. I'm not sure if there's enough value capture for the token, but there's a hell of a lot more value capture for the token. And we're seeing a lot of momentum in Cosmos. There's more and more Cosmos zones spinning up all the time and more projects expanding to Cosmos zones. Our friends at Tashi here are expanding, and another project we're incubating called Hover is also expanding to Kava, which is a zone on Cosmos as well. So I think there's a lot of developer activity. It's a very active developer ecosystem. At one point, it was more developer commits than anywhere else was Cosmos. So they're doing some really cool stuff. IBC is also, really starting to become a meaningful thing. Wormhole's launching their chain, which is going to enable a whole bunch of really cool stuff by way of bridging. And that's always kind of been the biggest criticism of Cosmos, is it's like clunky and disjointed and really difficult to get shit to and from. But most of that is about to solve itself, so to speak. So I'm excited about it. I'm not super bullish on the token price. I don't think to the moon, but I think definitely some positive momentum.
So one of the big things that Cosmos has done just in the last couple of days is they have improved their NFT standards. And so this could allow them to compete with Polygon, Solana, Avalanche NFTs, probably, in my opinion, not ETH NFTs, but they've improved, and I'll take any improvement.
Yeah. So one of the biggest challenges for NFTs, well, not challenges, but one of the criticisms early on was that the JPEGs were being hosted on a centralized server. So we claim that you own the tokens and that the tokens are decentralized, but when it's stored on the images and the metadata is stored on a centralized server, then it's not decentralized and it can be stopped. And there's a whole bunch of risk vectors there. So IFPS, of course, one of the most important things of IFPS, among many others, but one of the most important is its support for the NFT space. And they have now offered support for Cosmos. So I suspect we'll see a little bit of a proliferation of NFTs on Cosmos now. But that remains to be seen. We'll see. NFTs have slowed down a little bit. A lot of them have moved back to ETH, Polygon, some on Optimism, Arbitrum. Solana still has a few. Avalanche has some. But yeah, it's not the same bonanza as it was before, where there's just NFT projects coming out of every direction. But I think we'll see a meaningful run once the bull market picks up again. So Cosmos,
the cool thing here that I really want to emphasize is that NFTs are going to be essentially cross-chain compatible with their new standards. And this is a big deal because I know that Tashi's cross-chain focus. I think most of the projects in Cosmos look to be cross-chain because there's so many different zones and networks within Cosmos itself. But I think that could give them that edge to compete with Avalanche NFTs or Polygon NFTs.
Yeah, I think at the very least it puts them on a level playing field for sure, which is
it's exciting.
Yeah,
you don't look excited.
I am excited. I'm going
to buy you a Cosmos NFT and make you
a huge NFT guy. Every time I buy NFTs, like I am the counter signal. I think BCP and I laugh about this all the time. Like whatever I buy, everybody else should not buy. Right. Period. So, yeah. Anyways.
All right. Last one. It's a little bit funny. Is the Evmos X co-founder has maybe sold all of his tokens, and there's a bunch of finger pointing. Like I don't know. This seems like a really dramatic days of our lives kind of news article where there was a big dump in the Evmos ecosystem, and the people who are currently running the project are pointing fingers at the person who used to run the project, and the person who used to run the project is like, they're my tokens, I can do what I want with them, also though I didn't dump them. So I don't know, weird article.
Yeah, so what I know of this situation is that there was a bit of a separation between the current and ongoing founders and a couple of the original co-founders that I think, at least based on my understanding, is probably better in the end for Evmos. And it actually makes the path forward a lot more predictable, in my opinion, and quite a bit stronger. But all of that being said, I mean, when a co-founder leaves, like their tokens are still on the same vesting schedule, unless there was some clawback provisions and stuff in the token grant agreements. But usually a co-founder has their tokens. I mean, it's kind of crazy to me that at the lowest market cap Evmos has ever been, you would dump all your tokens, like especially at the bottom of a bear. But I mean, to each their own.
He's also said that he hasn't, and that he still is the largest delegator with over 11.5 million tokens staked.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know. So they're asking that he actually return those tokens to Evmos. I'd be interested to hear, Tashi's listening, I'd be interested to hear if Tashi is worried about this, if this is like going to impact their sentiment or anything for them, or if it's just kind of like a blip.
Yeah, I know Christine put out a video yesterday just talking about, the exciting things that are happening in Evmos, and, that amongst all of this FUD, it's kind of like the phoenix rising from the ashes. Evmos has had the Nomad hack, and then they had a lull, and then the bear market. And so that the price of the token has just been kind of bleeding. But so has every token in every ecosystem. And so then when something somewhat obvious happens, like a co-founder leaves, everybody panics, right? Everybody's like, oh, Evmos is going to die. The reality is, by the time a co-founder leaves, they're probably not doing much for the last while anyways. So at least this way you have one less, opinion in the room that is uninformed. So I don't know. I'm positive on the future of Evmos. Obviously, I'm biased. We are launching a protocol into Evmos, or at least supporting the launch of a protocol into Evmos. But I do think that they've got a solid team. They've got pretty good tech. The community is strong. The ones that aren't easily manipulated by FUD. But yeah, I think this one, like, to bring down the FUD a little bit, I think it's a little bit of capitulation. I mean, the price has slid quite a bit. A lot of people, public sale price was at 95 cents. Last time I checked, it's sub 20 cents. So even the people that bought at public sale are underwater currently. So that doesn't help. But I mean, that's almost every project other than like maybe top 20 is down significantly during a bear. So
in short, Cosmos is doing great. Their token is doing well. Atom's doing really well. They have new NFT standards that will allow them to be cross-chain. There's lots of exciting projects happening across many different zones. And kind of these fuddy articles don't help that, but they're not hindering sentiment too much. Does it seem like a good summary of Cosmos right now?
Probably. The articles maybe are fuddy, but I just don't think the reality is that funny. I'm actually quite positive on it. I think it's sometimes drastic action is what precedes significant growth. And this to me seems like a drastic action situation. So,
all right. Well, that's it. That's all the news. There's no more news.
Well, there might be more news, but we just think it's irrelevant. I'm just kidding.
More news.
Okay. So everybody like, share, subscribe, Twitter.
Bookmark.
Please bookmark if you're on Twitter. Bookmark the stream once the replay comes up. It's really important to help us with our reach, to spread the love. With that, Kiara, go find yourself.
Go find yourself.